Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm Alan, the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast, and today's Tolkien Times is my way of bringing you a little Middle-earth every single day. Now, if the few minutes you get here with me isn't enough, you're going to want to listen to the Prancing Pony podcast. 7 years worth of long episodes, almost 300 now, as we walk our way through the Legendarium with many, many more to come. But here on today's Tolkien Times, let's wrap up our second week with Silmarillion Saturday. Now, these times are our chance to revisit the mythical moments, heroic histories, and captivating characters of the Elder Days, whether from the Silmarillion, unfinished tales, the history of Middle-earth, or more. I'll read a short passage, then discuss it a little, and I hope that maybe I'll interest some of you who never tackled the Silmarillion to give it a go with my help. Now, last week we read about the creation of the two trees by Yavanna, with a little help from Nienna. Today we'll read about the creation of a few objects very much inspired by those two trees. We're going to read about the creation of the Silmarils. I'm going to read from chapter 7 of the Silmarillion, of the Silmarils and the unrest of the Noldor. In that time were made those things that afterwards were most renowned of all the works of the elves. For Feanor, being come to his full might, was filled with a new thought, or it may be that some shadow of foreknowledge came to him of the doom that drew near, and he pondered how the light of the trees, the glory of the blessed realm, might be preserved imperishable. Then he began a long and secret labor, and he summoned all his lore and his power and his subtle skill, and at the end of all he made the Silmarils. As three great jewels they were in form, but not until the end, when Feanor shall return, who perished ere the sun was made, and sits now in the halls of awaiting, and comes no more among his kin. Not until the sun passes and the moon falls shall it be known of what substance they were made. Like the crystal of diamonds it appeared, and yet was more strong than adamant, so that no violence could mar it or break it within the kingdom of Arda. Yet that crystal was to the Silmarils but as is the body to the children of Iluvatar, the house of its inner fire, that is within it, and yet in all parts of it, and is its life. And the inner fire of the Silmarils Feanor made of the blended light of the trees of Valinor, which lives in them yet, though the trees have long withered and shine no more. Therefore, even in the darkness of the deepest treasury, the Silmarils of their own radiance shone like the stars of Varda, and yet, as were they indeed living things, they rejoiced in light, and received it and gave it back in hues more marvelous than before. All who dwelt in Aman were filled with wonder and delight at the work of Feanor. And Varda hallowed the Silmarils, so that thereafter no mortal flesh, nor hands unclean, nor anything of evil will might touch them, but it was scorched and withered. And Mandos foretold that the fates of Arda, earth, sea, and air lay locked within them. The heart of Feanor was fast bound to these things that he himself had made. Then Melkor lusted for the Silmarils, and the very memory of their radiance was a gnawing fire in his heart. From that time forth, inflamed by this desire, he sought ever more eagerly how he should destroy Feanor and end the friendship of the Valar and the elves. But he dissembled his purposes with cunning, and nothing of his malice could yet be seen in the semblance that he wore. Long was he at work, and slow at first, and barren was his labor. But he that sows lies in the end shall not lack of a harvest, and soon he may rest from toil indeed, while others reap and sow in his stead. Ever Melkor found some ears that would heed him, and some tongues that would enlarge what they had heard, and his lies passed from friend to friend, as secrets of which the knowledge proves the teller wise. Bitterly did the Noldor atone for the folly of their open ears in the days that followed after. There's a reason today is Silmarillion Saturday, and there's a reason that the Silmarillion has its name, and it's these three fancy stones. Every bit of the history that follows from here can trace its way back to the creation of these gems. But there are some important little glimpses in here of how this is all about to go very, very wrong. All right, some of them aren't very subtle. Tolkien doesn't mind spoiling his own story here, telling us, in essence, that Feanor is dead and still hasn't been rehoused, and that the trees are long dead too. But I really want to direct your attention to the fact that Feanor's heart was fast bound to these things that he himself had made. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with the rest of the Silmarillion, but that sounds an awful lot like loving too much the work of one's hands, the warning given to King Turgon by Ulmo through Tuor, his future son-in-law. And it's an early reminder that we should not hold too tightly to our subcreations. Now that's it for today's Silmarillion Saturday and for the second week of today's Tolkien Times. But come back for more of the Elder Days every Saturday as we bring the pages of history alive. And if there's a first or second age story that you want to hear me read and discuss, please let me know by emailing barlaman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Now, tomorrow, be sure to listen to the new episode from the Prancing Pony Podcast. Nubeta Dubeta and I may have finished our discussions of the Pyre of Denethor, but we've still got more work to do. How about a full-length interview with Brian Sibley? Plan on joining me again next Monday here as we start our next full week on today's Tolkien Times with another Mailbag Monday. And as always, please like and subscribe here on YouTube. And if you're listening on a podcast app, be sure to follow or subscribe to make sure that every episode gets downloaded to your device. Follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And in the words of Faramir, go with the goodwill of all good men.